Abraham's 2023 entry into the now established Christmas movie war, Malaika, is now out for streaming. It's available for streaming. Yeah. Now, this movie was up against the likes of A Tribe Called Judah by Funke Akindele and Messi Aige's Omodadi. Adamodadi, yes. I'm struggling to remember these titles. I mean, it's been a while. Even though I reviewed Adamodadi recently, but yeah, it is what it is. So, what is Malaika all about? Malaika is a story about a family's struggle with infertility. Yep. Really heavy themes. And I don't know if it's fitting to say, but during the time Malaika was having its theatrical run, I almost never really knew what the film was about. I didn't see it in cinemas back in December 2023. And I don't really think I cared much about the promotional materials, even though I did see this poster a lot. But it wasn't exactly clear to me what it was. And so imagine my surprise with how heavy the theme the film addresses when I did see it for myself when now it's out on circuit. Really impressive stuff, because I don't think we diversify our stories enough, or at the very least, get enough films that talk about some of these everyday life matters a lot of people tend to be dealing with. And so when I say a film like Malaika, it is impressive. Now, how well does Malaika handle its subject matter? That is what we're here to discuss and figure out. Okay? So it follows the families of these guys, played by Emeka Ike and Toyin Abraham. So Emeka Ike has been married before, has a child out of that marriage. Her name is Chichi. And his wife died, I believe. And then he's remarried Toyin's character. And they've been married for 5 years and have been trying to have a child, and it's not working. Heartbreaking. When the film starts, it starts with this montage that serves two purposes, now that I think about it. The first purpose is to establish that Toyin's character and Emeka Ike's character love each other. Yes, it does that. They love each other because we see Emeka Ike's character receiving an award for groundbreaking work in... Can you guess what this guy does? Life cracks the funniest joke. He's a fertility doctor. So he's helped a lot of people, a lot of women conceive, a lot of families have their joy complete. But he can't replicate the same thing for his wife. A reminder that we humans are not God. And his character literally says it at one point to his wife. Okay, and then we see Toyin's character receiving an award for excellent work that she's done as a fashion designer, the owner of Tutu Couture. Yes, her character's name is Abitutu. And so the first 3 minutes establishes that these two guys love themselves. They love each other. It's undisputed. And then the film goes through this montage series that also establishes Totu's, I almost called her Toyi, Tutu's struggles, okay? It tells us that she's been looking for a child. We see her in this scene coming into having multiple miscarriages. See the scene where she has multiple miscarriages. And then one where she comes into what should have been her baby crib when the child arrives, and she's tearing the whole place apart. She's crying and expressing herself. And it's hard not to feel for her, before the film settles down and then starts its story beat. Now, this 3-minute intro, the first 3 minutes actually did throw me off. I wasn't really a fan of what was happening because it was confusing. In the moment when I was watching it, it was confusing. It was only after I had gotten far into the film and had better insight into the world of the story that the first 3 minutes then made sense in retrospect. So when I was watching it, it threw me off. And I don't think that's a good feeling you want people to feel when watching your stuff. Because those first few minutes are the most important. They are what decides if an audience member, if a viewer would stick to the end, or at least stick to you have to just win the person over. And this film struggled to win me over in those first few moments. But the moment it started to make sense, from like 5-minute mark, I was in, started to take its beat. I started to understand who is who, what is what, whose character is what, and the dynamics of the film got established. And then we meet Emeka Ike's character, Dr. Njoku. He is reserved. He is a man caught between, is it the devil and the deep blue sea? Is that a good way to put it? Because it's not extreme, but because I lack any other terminology to use now, I'm just going to let us just serve as a placeholder. But he's caught between his wife, who has anger issues, who is quick to anger, impatient, impulsive to an extent, and then his daughter, who we are supposed to believe is underaged. Yeah, I wonder who cast Film made this casting decision because it didn't work for me. I mean, this is a grown adult. It was hard for me to look away from the fact that this is an adult trying to mimic a child. It wasn't working. But we'll get back to that more when we get to the things I didn't like about this movie. But yeah, Emeka's character, Dr. Njoku, is caught between his wife and his daughter and trying to placate both of them to get them to go along with each other. They don't get along. And this forms the backbone of the film up until the very last, and in fact, the very last few minutes, because these two are at odds and they stay at odds for a very long time. Adetutu's inability to conceive clashes with Choma, Chichi, who thinks that is Adetutu's wickedness or evilness that is stopping her from having a child of her own. And, I think classic stepdaughter, stepmother thingy, and Dr. Njoku has to keep trying to make the peace. At the point, he has to travel out to India, I believe, and these two are forced to be together. And then the film finds a very creative way to just keep them apart. Because I, for one, was thinking that the house was going to be boiled. So, what is hotter than 100 degrees point for boiling water? Ashes. Can water get to ashes? But I thought the house was going to catch fire, really to ashes, because these two had been showing signs of not being able to stand each other. But for some reason, the film keeps them apart for a long time. Emeka abroad doing his thing, in fertility medicine. Adetutu in Nigeria doing her thing, trying to conceive, which leads her down the path of spirituality. And the daughter Chichi on her own path, hanging out with some people in the slum. Now, how does she get there? It's funny because guys not that wealthy. Like Emeka's character, Dr. Njoku, is not that wealthy. These guys are not so wealthy. They are rich, they're comfortable, but they're not wealthy that this lady she's a lady. The actress is a lady in real life. But I'm supposed to believe that the character she's playing is such a child that she doesn't know where her tutorial center is. She has to call her dad to direct her to the place. And not just call her dad. The dad tells her, it's, I think, about 2 bus stops away, and then she gets into a keke. We're supposed to believe that she's never entered a keke in her life. But that's a keke and slips off, and sort of, she's supposed to go to, was it Harrison Street or Harrison? And then she ends up in, it's confusing, but yeah. And it was supposed to believe that she mingles with the keke rider's family, It's not the hardest thing to believe, it's just the way the storytelling works. It wasn't believable. The entire thing was just ludicrous, for lack of a better word. But yeah, that is Tuti's act. She spends basically the entire story with these guys, hanging out with them, loving them at her own family, taking keke drivers. Arukwe plays the keke rider, taking his wife as our own surrogate mom. I think the wife is played by Ruby Ojako, if I'm not mistaken. Ruby Ojako, yes. So, but they get along, and it's every now and then there's a reference to her stepmother, and she's like, that witch, that evil witch, that. I mean, but yeah, that's what happens with Chichi, and then Adetutu goes on her own journey to, you guessed it, wanting to conceive. And through Adetutu's story, this film sheds a light to the struggle women pass through in trying to have a child of their own. And in that, I did appreciate the film for that. I did like it for that. Like I said, not a lot of films do these topics. If we have 10 films, we have 1 or 2 every now and then that deals with something really, really sensitive and really touching. And I liked that. It is one of the things I liked about the story, the very essence of it existing, in trying to tackle the story. Now, how it goes about tackling it is what I think may have done with 1 or 2 improvements, such as giving the characters more depth than they had. Adetutu and her husband are basically a medical family, yeah? And the story not just for once even tells us anything medically inclined about Adetutu's condition. It doesn't. I'm choosing to believe that in the 5 years they've been married off screen, we are to believe that they must have explored medical, situations or some medical alternative medical solutions. But the story doesn't even as much as hint about it. In fact, the most that we know that Emeka is a successful fertility doctor is because the film starts with him receiving an award. And then there is this scene where Adetutu sees her husband when he goes to go collect this award, and then the whole of social media is praising him and at the same time suffocating her. You witch, you ate your children. It was something. It was something. So that's the most we know, that the husband is a successful fertility doctor. But the film doesn't really do much to convince us otherwise. It doesn't do much to tell us that this family are medically inclined and that they've explored that, or even explored the religious angle, because I'd like to think that they are a family of Christians, Kanjoku and his wife. But the film doesn't even go that angle at all. What it does instead is to go straight to its point. It wants to make a point and a case for African spirituality, which is good, which is fine. Just like the subject matter of infertility and all that is not so much addressed. The same thing about African spirituality. It's not done enough justice in the media, at least in film media. And so it's good to see it being approached, good to see it take root and center stage as a huge part of this story, because it's in it that Tutu gets her solution. It's in it she gets her succor. My problem is with the storytelling and how we end up there. Like I said, if you want to climb a flight of stairs at 5, you won't just go from 1 to the 5th one. You take it one after the other. So I would like to think if this were a real life family with a husband who is a fertility doctor, that would have been your first step, before exploring maybe the church, depending on how much of a Christian fanatic you are or not. Before, and I know that there is if one can argue and say, well, Tutu didn't go out of her way to go seek, like it stumbled upon her, but it's all part of the storytelling thingy I'm talking about. We just happen to find ourselves there, and then Tutu is told that the solution to her problem is for her to stop being angry. So basically for her to stop hawking out. She has anger issues from her office to her home to, you see in the flashbacks, even to kids on the street. She's angry at all times, and the solution at the end of the day is for her to just not be angry. I wish it were that simple at all times for real life incidents. And then almost immediately we see Tutu driving back home and somebody bashes her car from behind, played by Odulade Adekola. And we see Tutu, who is always in hawk mode, and she just has to try to find a way to calm herself down. And she's like, I mean, that was something. I mean, it was something. And yeah, she actually succeeds at it. And at the end of the day, to God be the glory, she goes from not having any child to suddenly being pregnant with triplets. Yay, it is a good thing. She gets her solution, and yeah, I mean, so what is the lesson here? All of us, don't be angry. Do not be angry if you are looking to get visa to Japan or something. Don't be angry if you are looking to. I'm sorry. What? Yeah. But like I said, the African spirituality angle isn't a bad thing. It's just I have a problem with the story bit and how we got there. But overall, did I like Malaika? I think you can tell from my countenance that I did. I actually did like it. It had one of the better performances from Toyin Abraham I haven't seen in a while since Elevator Baby. I think, yes, I did like it. I liked it. No harm there. It also good to see Emeka Ike. I haven't seen him in a while, Emeka Ike, for those who don't know, the uninitiated, Emeka Ike used to rule the airwaves back in the days. The likes of him, Genevieve, whatever, they were having everything back then. And so it's good to see every now and then when we see him return for a film, or we see, what's this guy's name who returned in this film? This guy who made a return in a film recently, Charles Okafor, yes. In Adama Daddy, yes. If he returned. So it was nice to see these guys returning every now and then, like the star attraction that they are. I wish the materials they returned to gave them something stronger to work with. But nonetheless, I am happy to see them. I liked Malaika. I don't think it's a great film. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a great film. I don't think it's the next best thing since sliced bread. But I liked it. I liked it for existing, for the story at the heart of all the mess, and for some of its performances. What I did not like again about it, I'm going to talk about this before we call it a day. Chi-Chi's characterization. I've said this, but I mean, it was something. It was something I had to endure. It was something. But in the end, all is said and done. The film does to hone this theme where the Chi-Chi is kidnapped, this whole kidnap plot, and that was what led to her and her stepmother reconciling. And yeah, well, there's this thing, Nollywood. I thought we're past this. So let me just, I thought we're past this, where we start a film and then we end it with an all-out fight scene. We saw this a lot at a point with, I think so with Shantytown. We saw it with this Toyin film where she had this long, her character had this long hair. In Jakumo, I thought we're past that era. I didn't like that era. And this film sort of took us back there because what we had the characters, because they took 1 or 2 taekwondo classes. Yeah, I thought they could fight a kidnap gang because they're a local gang. Yeah. And in this very scene that caused Chichi to turn around and accept Toyin's character as her stepmother, we see the impaling, there's blood and, well, storytelling choices. But it didn't work for me. But yeah, like I said, I like Malaika, and I don't know. If you did like it, so let me know. If you've seen it, let me know what you think about the film. If you saw it in cinemas back in 2023, let me know what you thought about it back then, what the viewing experience was like for you. And if you've seen it now that it's out on Circuit TV, let me know as well. And if you've not seen it, yeah, you've watched this trailer to this, you've watched this review. Sorry, but if you've not seen it and you watched this review to this point, means you like spoilers. It means you are my kind of person. Just let me know in the comments so I can know who my people are, So thank you so much for watching and looking forward to reading your thoughts. I will see you in the next video.